I just wanted to ask you what the whole design process has been like, what it's like to collaborate with Ballet Black on their new show.
First of all, I was lucky enough to collaborate in the past with Sophie Laplane while I was working at Central. And I always had a great vibe from her approach of the choreography and I know the way she worked. So I was very glad when Cassa told me that she was going to be the next choreographer for the new bill. And yeah, this process has been quite unexpected and fun, let's say. Um, I like the way Sophie works because she's really someone that she can she's always like willing to take a suggestion. So I like the way she works with the dancers as well. I noticed that she's always asking and checking what type of things they prefer or what kind of movement. So it's quite nice in general for that. And in terms of the designing, we're working on obviously uh, the idea of the heroic human being and the self-acceptance. So we were investigating a few minimal concepts, and then the overall ideas of what the experience of working with her is that whenever there was an issue or something that came out that maybe we'd have to consider, she was always willing to, see her product from a different angle. So that is always really, because it's very difficult sometimes with choreographer. So you have to be able to understand and looking at what they want out of the choreography. A good part is basically watching all of the material and listening and just doing your research about the topic. And then when I came with her, and then when I came to her with my first few design, there was like a sort of a conversation on what she liked or what she not. So it starts like that. It's a conversation ongoing of keeping developing. So yeah, but overall it's amazing. And in general with Ballet Black, it's a sort of like a consolidated relationship now, like I feel. So it's always good to work with a client and with somebody that is really giving you the full, paper blanche, and then they're very, encourative. So
What has been your favorite design that you've created and your
so
most challenging as well?
I guess because my first commission for Ballet Black came really unexpected, and I wasn't really looking for it. It sort of have a special place because it was also the 20-year anniversary of the company and Cassa choreography in a long time. So it kind of had this sort of on me, build up expectation on myself that it sort of had that. And then when he came out, when the result, was great, we were both very happy. It sort of, had a feeling that it's very hard to knock off. So
Mm.
that's for sure. And then regarding the other work of Nina, is a completely different experience. It was definitely probably the most challenging because there was so much material that we wanted with Mthuthuzeli that we wanted to recreate, and there was so many designs that I made, and at one point it was so hard to choose because at the end it's a very narrative piece, so it's really hard to try to get the right vision to communicate the appropriate things. So
I mean, you did such an amazing job with that Isabella's outfit. I mean, to me, every time I looked at it, it just looks practically it's
thank you.
identical to the original. From the outside, from the audience perspective, you would never believe that it's a challenge or think, oh, it was just a breeze. So it's so interesting to know that actually going to be so many like challenges with these things. How do you approach the design and creation of costumes for ballet that allow more ease of movement for dancers? Because I guess you've really got to think about how easy they can move in their costumes.
Yes, I mean, no one wants to dance in something that is either, itchy to stiff or anything. So it's really just a compromise between that and the vision that you have. Like, again, for a piece like Nina, it was very hard because being so narrative and then getting all the 70s and the 60s and the 40s, like some of those, of course, they were not made for naturally for moving it around. So you have to sort of do a lot of research and then going through the right material. And then my approach personally is really straight away go to the dancer and test it and be like, okay, tell me how this feels on the skin. Does it make you sweat more? Is this still something that you really like? That is really important. Like, so my process is, first of all, there is the, expectation, my own expectation of the design that I make, and then like that's the target. But then you go through certain stages and development that you have to give away something. It's normal. But I think, that the best thing is really to have everyone on the same level, dancers, choreographer, and myself. So Sophie's piece is quite faster in certain movement and in certain section. So I like it because it's a balance between like gentle and, moderate movement. But at one point, it's such a sharp and fast movement. So therefore for this, they playing a lot around with this crown which they wear, and they use it as a props as well. So this crown has to be able to fit in the head and be stable while they're spinning, they're dancing, they're doing all of the movement, arabesque and all of that. And then they go upside down as well. So usually when you create a headpiece that has to stay on the dancer's head, usually it's just stay there. And then there's no problem about it because you find just a trick of the way to make it stay there. But in this scenario, they have to play with it and take it out and pass it around, throw it to each other. So it has been quite a challenge. But luckily, again, as in for the clothing, I just go do my research, running tests, tested on the dancer. And then, the other day I came in, I tried them on each of them and then told them to do a movement and tell me how they feel about it, if there is anything that can be improved or what they think. So the dancer feedback is always the first start point. I think I think this piece, for this specific reason, it's going to be quite interesting, quite funny as well, quite playful. So that's good.
What sparked your desire or interest to get into costume design?
I've been always obviously interested in the styling and everything, but the reason that, for instance, I prefer costume and I decided to go into costume rather than maybe fashion is because there is the cultural level to it, the passion that brings to communicate with the story, like with the story that we tell in something. It's not just the script of the actors playing and everything. It's just the costume with it can goes really deep. So what I fascinated about the costume in general is that we help in the narrative. And then it's not, if I think about it, another aspect of it is that the inspiration that I get personally is it's from everything that is around me. I do a lot of people watching. Just going, and I think the streets is like one of the main and the best sources of inspiration. Like, for instance, in this pin, the crown has a value. There's this sort of symbolic that every single dancer then they interpret it in a different way depending on the action. So it is telling exactly a story and something, an emotion. I want to really see until the very end where this is going to lead, because it's still a work in progress. And as we all know, like, things can change, and then when you start something, eventually it can take some different turns, and then it can be quite surprising.
How has it been, after receiving your recognition as an award-winning costume designer, impacted your professional life?
Yeah, I have to say that, first of all, the award came in a moment of my life that I was it was really unexpected, and then I guess that was had a even better taste to it. Like it really felt so good. Not because I was like not doing anything. It's just like it was really nice to be seen. Like I think though this kind of it was a peak, right? This kind of peak, you have to sort of be really good at riding the wave somehow. So as we say, that the industry is really hard and it's very competitive. I found myself in a position where I'm generally like a very shy person, so it's really hard to get used to the networking and to be in the right place with the right people and walking the walk, let's say.
Yeah.
But overall, it's been a great honor, and he opened up definitely opportunity for me. After that, I got some amazing opportunity and work with project that I really loved, and then they were really successful. So I'm really glad of that. And on top of that, the Black British Theatre Award it's I think he's doing an amazing work of putting this platform for Black excellence and representation, and really Omar and Solange are doing an amazing work for that.
I have some very quick fire questions for you. So it's just the first thing that comes to your head. And my first one is, in 3 words, can you describe your designs for heroes?
Say gradient, playful, soft.
Because you've worked on so many ballets now for Ballet Black, do you have a favorite ballet move?
Well, ballet, like the classical ballet, obviously. I mean, there's so many. But I think the very first one that comes to me is either the arabesque, which is probably,
Nice.
I don't know, it's more like the romantic one. I affiliated with that.
Person who's had the biggest influence on your career?
Well, I would say Cassa. She was the very first one that gave me credit with, like to push me. So I owe that.
Your proudest moment to date?
Yeah, I think it was when I did train someone on sewing, and the very first time that they actually made it a full garment, and that person I trained. That was like, yes, that was a great moment.